Hey guys, Chris here from River City Labs in Brisbane, Australia. It's actually been 3 years now since I've been in River City Labs, and it's completely different now. Might have to show you guys a bit of a tour or something. But yeah, it's this huge co-working space here in Brisbane, and I'm here with Louise Croft from Digital Nomad Girl.
Hey! Strangely
enough, there is another nomad in my home city of Brisbane. Not many people in general travel down here.
Yeah.
So first of all, how are you finding Brisbane, and why are you here in this city specifically?
So we are here as part of the Hot Desk program, which is Queensland government trying to get international entrepreneurs to base themselves in Queensland. Mm-hmm. So we're here on a 6-month program, which has been awesome. And yeah, it feels like we've been crossing paths so much in Thailand and South America, and bizarrely, we've ended up actually meeting in Brisbane.
Yeah, so you're actually the first person that, I think I've ever heard in this kind of nomad scene that have come to Brisbane.
Yeah.
And so finally we get to meet, and I really wanted to have you on specifically about Udemy, but then also about, I don't think I've interviewed a few female nomads actually on the channel.
There's not many.
But there's, it's, people want to see a wide breadth of people. And especially the female viewers out there. There's not many on my channel, but they're obviously a lot more inspired by female nomad. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that in today's interview.
For sure.
So your channel is called Digital Nomad Girl, but it wasn't always called that, right?
No. So I actually started my internet life talking about op shopping and thrift shopping, so secondhand clothes. So my channel was originally Pauper to Princess, which was my blog name from when I was 18 and started a fashion blog. So I did my channel as a spin-off from that, but obviously we were nomads at the same time, so I ended up doing a bunch of videos about vlogs or business advice, and suddenly I was talking so much about business and not really at all about clothes, and I thought, actually I'm going to transition, and as you said, there's not many female nomads out there, so I wanted to kind of represent that side up on the internet.
Okay, so you had a few journeys going on at the same time. You had this travel journey, but then also you as a content creator. And then also moving into courses, which I want to get into. But what made you get into YouTube and creating content initially? Was it just a passion to share whatever?
So I'd already had a blog for, I guess, maybe about 5 years, talking about secondhand clothes, like a fashion blog. And then I realized that I wasn't actually reading blogs anymore. I was creating blog content, but all I was doing was watching YouTube. And I was like, if I'm doing that, probably a lot of people are doing that. So I decided to move over to YouTube instead. So I still have my blog, but I don't often post on it compared to my channel, which I post once a week.
I think you got to kind of use these platforms to understand that. And for me, especially, I love watching YouTube, and that's why I focused on YouTube a lot. But I really definitely see the power of blogging as well. And podcasting. I've done some podcasting as well. But how did sort of step us through the whole journey, because you started in London, right? Or
England.
In the UK, somewhere.
It's all much the same. When you're Australian, 2 hours is like your neighbour.
I guess. So, you've been with you started in the UK with your partner, Ed. And how did you kind of step into this nomad lifestyle or traveling long term or living abroad?
So I guess it was about 3 years ago now that we first started living abroad. I'd always been into travel, as a backpacker. So, I had a gap year, I'd done loads of travel, all that kind of thing. But I think like most people, I didn't realize you could do it as a long-term lifestyle choice. I just thought you travel, then you get a job, and that's the end of the fun. You then just live in London and that's it. But my partner and I were both doing startup things. We were both always going to be entrepreneurs. So he was living in London, I was living in Bournemouth, and he was paying so much rent in London, and he was like, why? All I'm doing is working online. So he decided to move to Estonia because it was just in Europe. It was the summer. Tallinn is a big kind of online spot. And we didn't realize being a nomad was a thing. So we thought we invented it, which I feel like a lot of people think they invented it. They're like, guys, I've had an amazing idea. I'm going to move to a different country.
Okay.
So he moved to Estonia just to save money and just because why not? And then San Francisco, and then we discovered Nomad List, and we were like, oh, what's a nomad? And we kind of discovered that's what we were doing. And then based on Nomad List, we both together went to Chiang Mai, and then like the rest is history. We were just like, oh my goodness, Chiang Mai, mind blown. Like we met so many awesome people. We discovered that being a nomad is this whole thing, and there's this whole demographic, and there's all these online people. So we totally fell in love with it, and we've barely been home since like 3 years ago. So
wow. Yeah. No, there's like seems to be a few different paths and one of them is people just like kind of like Ed was like, oh, I work completely online, why do I have to do it here?
Yeah.
And then there's me who was on the complete opposite side of like, oh wow, I want to be able to work anywhere. How can I achieve that? Yeah. Which for a lot of people watching, I think that's sort of the mindset now that they're open to this idea. Yeah,
because you've discovered that being a nomad is a thing, and that's why you're watching this channel. So I think that's a much more sensible way to do it, to set your mind on something and follow that path, rather than we did it kind of almost by accident. It was very organic for us.
Yeah. But do you think there's a lot of merit in that, in the sense that you kind of don't think so much about the travel and the location independence, but more so about like what you just, I guess, a career in traditional terms.
Yeah.
Like, well, what do I enjoy doing, and what can I do well, and what's kind of my mission here, and then because I think that's an element that a lot of people forget. They're like, oh, Chris, I just want to be location independent. Yeah. I'm going to do Amazon FBA. I'm going to do drop ship this. I'm going to code on the side. And it, to me, sounds like they're just kind of looking at all the ways they can make money online and just kind of becoming overwhelmed. But I think you need to put that through another filter of like, well, how would you choose a career in the traditional sense? Of like, well, what's something I could do well? What's my mission? What do I like doing? So I think that those two approaches, together, is a good thing, and definitely the ones that start, working online and think, well, why don't I just travel? Oftentimes they've already got their thing together.
Exactly.
So they can generally be more successful on the road. So there's so many different ways you can go about it, isn't there?
Yeah, it's difficult. You need to know what your motivation is, and if you really want to just travel, then maybe a better solution for you is to like work 6 months in a career and then travel 6 months. Like if traveling is what you really, really love, but if you want this kind of balance, it's more about the lifestyle of being able to live abroad and like meet local people and get really involved in the culture, and your work is still a really big part of your life, and you don't want to be hating your work. Then kind of the nomad dream is totally wasted if you still hate what you're working on all day. So I think it's a balance of kind of chicken and egg, like what motivates you to make the move and then how you balance the two.
Yeah. And for you guys, your motivation is a lot to do with work and startups that you create. I remember speaking to Ed at dinner the other day, and he said, I'm not really motivated by travel. Yes, it is exciting or interesting to live abroad and that is that interest, but I think work comes first for him and probably for you as well.
Yeah. So we love working and we love running different startups and all kinds of things like that. And the fact that we can live abroad is great. And, on the weekends we can go and do some touristy stuff, but in the week we're still mostly working. And we generally choose our locations based on somewhere that we haven't been and somewhere that there's going to be loads of nomads, because what we really want is to meet all the interesting nomadic people. And most of our really close friends now are nomads and are entrepreneurs. And we don't actually spend that much time like traveling in the kind of Instagram sense. We're more like meeting interesting people, and for us that's what travel unlocks, whereas just living in London or living in our hometown, we wouldn't be exposed to as many like different ideas and different people.
And I think you mentioned Chiang Mai before. I think that's the benefit of the community as well. Even if you don't necessarily like Chiang Mai as a place, just meeting other like-minded people is huge for me as well. And especially even in a business sense, like even if you're not that social, it's still great to network with other people who are doing what you want to do. And especially with you guys, you're a bit more in the startup world. So you're at a place like this, which is like a co-working space with a tech focus.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've made connections here, which you can learn from, and that possibly you can add value to your business through that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I wanted to talk about being a digital nomad girl. And like, to you, do you think that it's harder to be a female being a nomad, or do you think it really doesn't matter what gender you are, or is there any different advice that for women than for men, or what do you think about kind of digital nomads for girls?
It makes a bit of a difference to what location we select,
Yeah.
because we were actually talking to you the other day, weren't we, about Mexico, and you were saying actually if you choose the right place in Mexico, then now it's really safe. And I was saying to Denise,
I don't want to be on camera saying it's really safe, but just it's like anywhere you can choose.
You still have to be switched on. But I was saying to Denise that a big factor for me in why I love Thailand so much is that I can walk home alone, and maybe it's not at midnight, but I can go to a dance class and I can get myself there, and I don't need Ed to like drive me or escort me, and that's something that is a big priority for me when I choose our locations, so that I want somewhere that I can have total freedom. And that sounds like quite a basic human right, but it's actually not that common that you can walk around on your own. And here in Brisbane, it's been really great because we're living in the valley, which is like a very party area. So whenever I'm walking around, there's loads of people around and there's bouncers, and I actually feel reasonably safe, and our commute is only a 10-minute walk. So for me, it's quite important that I can just walk, even in the daytime, around on my own. And that's not always something that you have around the world. But Thailand, totally. So that's one of our favorites.
I've heard people talk about Thailand as just foolproof.
Yeah.
You could be drunk 3 a.m. on the street, drop your wallet, and somebody still will probably pick it up and give it to you.
Exactly.
It's crazy, Thailand. Like I have one of my videos kind of went a little bit viral about Thailand, and some of the ignorant comments I got on there, like, oh, I want to go to Thailand, but I don't want to get stabbed. Like, man, like, have you ever been there? Like, I'd be more worried about getting stabbed in the US than Thailand. Okay, so safety is a big one, but also I don't want to neglect one thing that we share in common is that we travel with partners. Which for me, it's an easy thing to take for granted as something that I've always had. But for people watching, a lot of people are single, or their partner, they're having to make a hard choice of whether like I want to travel but my partner doesn't, and that's a big issue. I don't really want to necessarily tell anyone like, oh yeah, this is what you should do with your relationship, but just as a person traveling in a couple, how does that sort of help, and if you were traveling as a solo female, would you still do it, and how would you kind of approach it differently?
I think if I was single, I would probably pair up with another girl and travel together. I've actually, amazingly, even though I've been traveling my whole life, I've never traveled alone. I've done like a day where I've arrived in a country before my family or before my friends, and I've had like a day on my own. But I've never really found that works for me. I feel best in a group. So I would probably pair up with another girl, or a guy, obviously, and travel together, because I think there's not many solo female travelers, and I think the safety is a big part of it, but there's also like a lot of loneliness, whether you're a guy or a girl traveling on your own. And I think, like you said, we take for granted that we always have a partner to like chat ideas through with and eat dinner with and all that kind of thing. So I generally find the solo female travelers connect themselves really quickly into a group, and then maybe synchronize with people around the world. So actually we're already finding that the next 6 months, we're kind of hopping between countries depending on where our other nomad friends are going to be. So we're like, oh, if you're in Lisbon in June, we'll come together and we can get a place together. So I think that's a good way to do it, to try and, if you go to somewhere like Chiang Mai where you can meet a bunch of people and then just kind of join in with their trips. And I think that's a really good way to not be traveling alone if that's not something you want to do.
Yeah, I think solo travel in general, not just for women but for men as well, can be really powerful, and it's not necessarily for people that like being loners.
Yeah.
Like, I like solo travel, but I hate traveling alone. If
Right.
that makes sense. So, but what I like about solo travel is it pushes you to meet people.
Yeah.
And then you're totally open to
Yeah.
making new connections and having friends. So
Yeah.
I did a little bit of solo traveling when I was in the US, and it was scary, but when the times that I met new people was super exciting and
Yeah.
interesting. So as a nomad, you can have that as well. But I mean, for sustainability, if you're alone all the time, you know, I think that's probably the biggest issue, not so much being a female or a male.
Yeah, exactly.
Is traveling alone. And like you said, for females, I think there's just like another consideration of safety.
Yeah.
Because there are some places in the world where, you know, the culture is different towards females as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in Morocco, for example, Denise was disrespected a few times.
Right.
Because of that culture. And I'm not saying anything about Morocco, but, you know, it just
As an
happened that
example,
way.
yeah.
Whereas nothing like that has ever happened in, say, Thailand. And
Yeah, it depends
I'd be
a lot where you go.
very surprised that if something bad, I mean, sexism exists everywhere.
Yeah,
I'd be
of course.
surprised if it was a problem here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So I said I wanted to talk a bit about Udemy, which,
Okay.
you know, you were saying to me at dinner is a lot of people are interested on
Oh,
your
yeah.
channel as well. Has that been, first of all, has that been the primary way that you've, is that like your primary digital nomad job, would you say?
Yeah.
Is creating courses?
Yeah, absolutely. Although I don't actually spend any time on it now. So it's kind of a mixed question. It's my primary income, but it's not my primary time commitment.
Yeah.
I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it was kind of your job, and now it's kind of like, it's paying off, basically.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
idea
absolutely.
behind passive income, is front-loading the work, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you, it's just been Udemy that you've put out courses, right? No other
Yep.
platforms?
Well, I have them on a few other platforms, but Udemy is the focus, really.
Okay.
But you'll find if you make a course on Udemy, people contact you all the time and saying like, oh, can you put it on our site as well? So I do have them on a few others, but Udemy is the main one by a long way.
Okay, and how did you get into Udemy? Was it before you started your nomad journey, or was it you were traveling and you're like, okay, now I have to have a digital nomad job, or how did it kind of unfold?
So when we moved to Chiang Mai, before that I was doing a very non-location independent work, which was that I was helping a charity revamp their retail stores. So I was doing kind of interior design and events and marketing as like a freelance consultant. So that is not location independent at all. So when we moved to Chiang Mai, Ed was doing coding and I had like zero clue what skills I had that I could sell online. And I think that's a phase a lot of people go with, where they're like, oh, I want to be here and other people are doing it, but I just have to find my space in the world and work out what pre-existing skills I have. And most people don't even realize what skills they have. So I was talking to loads of different nomads and I was asking Johnny about dropshipping, and he said, actually, I don't think dropshipping will suit you because you don't have the pre-existing skills for it and you could learn it, but you're looking for something with a quicker turnaround. So then I got speaking to Larissa, who I'm sure you've probably met.
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I think they weren't together after I met Johnny.
Anyway, when I met them, they were together. So I got speaking to Larissa, and she and Johnny had some Udemy courses, and she was like, oh, Udemy would suit you really well because you already have a YouTube channel, you already have a blog, you're like very happy being on camera. And she said, you have a bunch of stuff you can teach, you just don't know it yet, because when you know something, you don't appreciate its value. So she and I actually made a course together about fashion, about how to like revamp your wardrobe and style yourself from what you have. And I was really nervous, and I was thinking like, oh, you know, I'm not an expert, I don't have a fashion qualification, I just love fashion. And she was saying, no, it's for real people, and I promise it will work. So we made a course together, and then that kind of unlocked the whole of Udemy for me, and I just started making courses every week. I got totally addicted to making courses. So I now have 25 courses, and I made them like semi full-time for I guess a year, maybe two. So yeah, I guess one every kind of couple of months. But then I was doing a little bit of freelancing on the side, obviously a lot of travel, my YouTube channel, a few different things. And Ed and I have run a few software companies together. So I was working with him, doing like sales and marketing and operations. And you know how it is, you're kind of doing all different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've just been making Udemy courses steadily now for the past 2 or 3 years. And kind of the rest is history. So I massively owe it to Larissa for convincing me to make that first course.
Wow. And I think I want to bring it back to one thing you said really early in that, which was sell your skills.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably the biggest mistake, is forgetting that keyword sell.
Mm-hmm.
When I started my nomad journey, I kind of spent a year building up skill, but not the ability to sell the skill.
Right.
So obviously when you're doing a course, you need to sell that somehow. But I guess I was more in and this might be something that happens to you guys as well, where you're more in a like, if you have a job, there's not much selling that you need to do. You go to the interview, you get hired, and you just use your skill.
Yeah.
And one of the things to get used to as a digital nomad, and I feel like this is something that everyone has had to do in the nomad world, apart from people that have got remote jobs and then left, is you need to learn some sales and marketing.
Yeah.
So whether you're doing Udemy courses or freelancing or drop shipping, selling something.
Yeah.
You're selling something online, if you work for yourself. So that is one mindset. When I heard that, I was just like, that is a key word there. Is sell your skills. Okay. So, and the other thing from what you just said, you did one Udemy course and you were iffy about it, but that one course was enough to make you, you probably made a little bit of money from it, the first one. And
exactly.
And it's that classic case of an entrepreneur, once they make that first dollar, kind of like, okay, this is a reality now, and the light bulbs go off. You had that.
The first sale, courses on Udemy typically sell for like $10 or $20. So that first sale, maybe it sold for $20, of which we get 10, split between Larissa and I. So I made $5 and I was like, this is the best thing ever. Like, it was probably the best $5 I've ever made, because I was just like, someone has typed in their credit card details and bought my course, but I'm the instructor. Like, that's crazy. And because I'd made the course with her, she'd showed me all the technicalities of how to upload it and how to edit and all of that. And I just realized that I don't think making Udemy courses is easy, but it was easy for me because it really suited my existing skills. So I already knew how to edit. I already knew how to set up my camera. And a lot of the learning curve didn't exist for me because it was something that was just really suited to what I had. And that's what I'm always trying to convince people, is to look at, do you already own a camera? Do you already know how to edit? Do you already like being on camera? Guess what? You should be a Udemy instructor. And Johnny was dead right to say to me that I shouldn't do dropshipping because I had all these other skills and all this other equipment that I just hadn't realized kind of how the puzzle pieces fitted together. So I think people need to really take kind of an objective look at what their skills are, what physical things they have in their suitcase. Do you have loads of workout equipment? Like, maybe you're really into fitness and you could teach someone and you didn't realize that was a special skill. You just think, surely everyone's into fitness. So kind of looking at what you have, I think, is a really important phase in becoming a successful nomad.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, we live in an age of information overload. And now that more information is coming out about nomads, and there are 1,000 ways to make money online. Well, probably more than 1,000. Probably like an infinite amount of ways to make money online. And so people can get really caught up, and especially when you see a YouTuber or just anyone online say like, oh, I made this much money doing this. Like, it happens to me as well, where I'm just like, oh, maybe I should do that.
Yeah, totally.
I think they call that the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, for sure.
So that is a really important lesson I've learned as well, is to kind of go where, there are so many ways to make money online. It's not just the common ones that I hear all the time. Selling on Amazon, drop shipping products, learning to code. I hear a lot, probably because I have videos on that, and that's what I do. But there are just so many ways. And I tell people to maybe look at what you're already doing and see how you can move that towards a location-independent role.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed, everyone you meet in Chiang Mai or in the world is doing something totally different.
Yeah.
Like I met someone yesterday who is selling movements on Second Life.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a mermaid on Second Life, then you have to buy her like mermaid motion so you can make your character move like a mermaid. And she has this whole passive income from selling like mermaid movements on Second Life. And like you just forget how many jobs are out there, and every day I come across a new job that you can do online. So it's not just like the big five.
Okay. Well, on that, is there any kind of advice or what would you say to somebody who kind of doesn't know what value they can bring in a location-independent kind of skill?
Yeah.
As a starting point, is there anything you would say to that person?
I would do, maybe even with a couple of friends, because I think it's easier for someone else to see it in you. But I would sit down and do a kind of big session where you write out all the jobs you've had, all the hobbies you have, all the things you want to learn, all the things that are in your suitcase, and just see if there's kind of a common theme. So like I said, for me, it was that I'm into fashion, I love teaching. I would have liked to have been a teacher if it wasn't so like location tied.
Yeah.
I like being on video, I know how to edit, and all those things kind of come together. I speak English fluently. There were so many things that I didn't realize was special. Like you forget speaking English is useful for teaching on Udemy, and you forget that it's special that I can speak English natively, because it to me just comes naturally.
Yeah.
So I think spending a bit of time looking at all of your skills, looking at all of your career history, and seeing if there's kind of a common theme of something you can pull out.
That's awesome. I think that it's probably a good place to end. On that note, we've covered a few things today. If people want to check you out, what's the best way to find you?
So Digital Nomad Girl on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever you want to find me, that's where it'll be.
Wherever you want to find me. Just probably search that on Google as well and find it. Yeah. All right, awesome. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys, and thanks, Louise, for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's a collaboration, long time coming. If you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe for more content on remote work, travel, location independence, all these kind of things we talked about in today's interview.
Yeah.
And thanks guys. I'll see you in the next one.
Bye.